Hey, everybody. Welcome to Seth and Beth podcast. Beth, how are you?
I'm awesome, babe.
We are here with the illustrious Jacqueline Tobin. Jacqueline, how are you?
I'm great.
Now, normal subscribers to our show, Beth, might not know who this wonderful woman is, but she's a very powerful person in the photography industry, and we're super stoked to have you on the show. Jacqueline is the editor-in-chief of Rangefinder Magazine. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Rangefinder Magazine is totally incredible. We've had the honor to be in it a few times, being featured for our photos and a couple interviews, and it's astounding. What's the biggest claim to fame to the magazine besides being the photography magazine for everyone in the world? Like, is it the rising stars? What's the biggest part of Rangefinder?
I mean, first of all, Rangefinder is a brand that's been around since like 1950, and I think that's important to know as well. And it's like very dedicated to write information for photographers, but also like articles and stories for photographers by photographers. And then we do have this unique competition, our 30 Rising Stars of Wedding Photography, which you guys know about.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because it focuses on the emerging photographer.
Yeah.
And in your first 5 years, there's so much to like learn and know about. And we're trying to like find 30 people from around the world. I think a lot of people don't know what's around the world.
Yeah.
And we get like 300 submissions. And so it's really hard to narrow down because the people who are nominated are already so talented.
Right.
So it's an invite only.
Sure.
You need an industry nomination. You can't submit to us. It's not paid. It's purely like we're looking for the next rising stars. People will ask me, why is that important, Jackie? You're excluding so many people when you're only doing 30.
Yeah.
But I think these 30, like they've gone through all the obstacles and hurdles of like building a business in your first 5 years while also like creating incredible work, which is so important.
Yes.
And it just keeps the industry evolving. It helps, like they're all like, they serve as mentors to the others who didn't get in, but they're all friends, they're mentors, they're peers. We did a Rising Stars Summit on Sunday. So it was like business boot camp for emerging photographers first 5 years. And all the speakers were rising stars from 2019 and back, all the way to like 2013. And everybody just wanted to be in front of these people and pick their brain. We had mentor sessions at the end for like 3 hours, and the tables were jam-packed.
Wow.
Tell me a little about. I jumped the gun there. Tell me a little bit about your past. Like, how did you get to this magazine? What were you doing beforehand? All that.
That's a good question because I don't think anyone knows my whole history. So
That's why we wanted to have you on, because I know you come to WPPI and there's some like really like head honcho people like, and so but I was like, I kind of wanted to get your story more,
Right.
how you got in this position, why you're drawn to photography. I mean, most photographers say the same thing while they're drawn to it, but so maybe start.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
What is
I'll
your
start
past?
when I was 10 years old. How
Please
about
do.
that?
Yes.
My dad had a dark room in our basement. He showed me how to like shoot with film and then process it in the basement with a lot of chemicals, which in
Right.
retrospect might not have been great, but because we were in a little area that had no ventilation.
Right.
And so like right then I knew I loved photography, but also my dad has started this little newspaper in our attic called the Tobin Tatler. And I have 3 sisters. So the 4 girls he would make us like put our story ideas into this little wallpapered box with a slit at the top, and we'd have to cover a beat. And so that also like got me into writing and editing and laying out the whole little newspaper.
Wow.
Doing graphics and things, but I'd literally be writing stories like my Girl Scout troop went to Gert's department store today and here's what we did. The only people reading it was my family.
Yeah.
But that and the darkroom experience, like that paved my whole way in life.
Right.
So I think I'm one of the rare people who knew at 10, like this is what I'm doing forever.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky in that respect. And then I went to Cornell, and when I was there, I was like the staff photographer on the newspaper. So I remember running around campus to like cover a story of this like paper mache dragon. It was a big thing on campus this day where this dragon would be hauled around, but there was like real fire somehow. And I remember like feeling the flames on my face and thinking, I want to do something like this forever, like cover stories or cover people who are covering stories. Like it gave me a
It's
real
so exciting.
adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And so that's my backstory.
What was your first jobs out of college?
Photo District News, which was Rangefinder's sister publication. It actually was just folded. So PDN, Photo District News, from 1986 until 2011. And then I went over to Rangefinder. But, like, we were owned by the same company. So, like, I literally was looking for jobs in the classifieds, because back then, you know, I'm old, we had classifieds still. And that's where you'd get a job. And I saw the listing for PDN, and it was like, you know, go to all the photographer parties in Manhattan and cover the parties and write about it. And, you know, I started as an editorial assistant and then worked my way up to managing editor. I was there 25 years, and it was fantastic.
Wow.
I met every legend photographer that ever lived and now mostly are dead. And the names people might not even know, but I think they should. I think the history is very important, like Gordon Parks and Arnold Newman and Harry Benson, who actually photographed. His career was made photographing the Beatles. You know, I remember sitting with him on his penthouse rooftop while his dogs ran around and licked my toes because it was summer and I was wearing sandals while I'm interviewing Harry. Or like Elliot Irwin, who is super, like, an amazing photojournalist from way back, and he's very shy, and he was making me espresso in his studio. Like, I have all these little stories. Gordon Parks is literally like one of the most famous photographers who ever lived. He's not here anymore, but he was the director of the original Shaft movie, and he's like an iconic photojournalist who worked for Life and all these other magazines. And
Is that the song that's like Shaft?
yes. And he made me spaghetti in his like apartment overlooking the East River, and he said, I want you to be in my book. And like all these things like never would have happened to me if I hadn't seen that ad. If my father hadn't gotten me into photography, like I really feel grateful for all my experiences.
Wow.
And it's built me up to like what I do now.
I can just like, I don't know, in my little mind, I see you as a young girl, like like taking pictures and then developing and then like laying out the whole newspaper.
I mean, I loved it.
I mean, that just sounds like the coolest thing ever. And how like precious the articles about like your Girl Scouts,
yes.
like that is so.
But I was also deathly shy as a kid, like deathly. Like if you spoke to me, I would cry, my throat would ache to get words out. And so I had to push myself to do things that were like, I love these things, but they were also background things, you know, behind the camera, not in front of it, or writing behind the scenes. Like I was just so crazy shy and self-doubting.
Wow. So like to push yourself to go to some of those functions to meet those other photographers.
I had to.
I bet that was like some of the hardest things, like just to even get there and walk through the door had to been super tough.
Like, do you guys know Jay Maisel, who that is?
I don't.
He's like a pretty well-known photographer. I mean, he's in his 80s now, and there was actually a film about him recently, but he was the first photographer I met in the 80s. I was at a party. I had to cover it. And I remember I'm pressing the shutter, taking a picture of him, and he yelled at me. And he said, don't press that so hard. And I literally like almost melted into a puddle of tears. But that helped, you know, all these experiences really like helped me push me out of my safety zone, which I think, you know, I tell a lot of the people we deal with today, the emerging photographers, that you've got to push yourself and get out of that little box to become who you really want to be. I know it sounds cliched, but that's like been my whole career, like pushing myself. Because since I walked in the door, I haven't shut up, but I am shy.
I was just thinking to myself, this is supposed to be my show, but I'm so enthralled with what you're saying.
I can't stop talking.
Normally, I have to queue up all this stuff, but you're just like getting after
love it.
So transferring to Rangefinder, they must have been very excited to have you. I mean, with your credentials, how did you get to Rangefinder?
So that's another story of like my boss at PDN. Well, at PDN we had a publisher, this woman Lauren Wendell, and I guess she saw something in me. And back then we worked for Nielsen, so they bought Rangefinder and WPPI. And Lauren said, I was the first person she thought of to like head over and, you know, work with Bill Herder, who was the original editor of Rangefinder. and he's since passed away. But so I went there, and I think I was executive editor with him. And then he had gotten sick and had to step down. But so slowly I worked my way into like his spot. I mean, it was sad, but also, you know, I really thank like Lauren for like seeing something in me.
Yeah.
And then Bill was really my mentor there to help me then move, you know, to the next level of like running the magazine.
How many folks in this world get the magazine? What is the publication count?
So I don't know if people know we're a free magazine.
Yeah, no, I don't think people know that either.
People want to pay me for it. I'm like, no, like just take it. I should start taking money for it, especially here, and they go play the slots or something.
Right.
I'm kidding.
Right.
It's free. It's a controlled circ. Between the print and digital, we have like 100,000 circulation. So it was like always like 60,000 was print. No, 40,000 was print and 60 digital, something like that. So I don't know if people know that the magazine just folded. Did you know that?
No.
So the company has folded the magazine, but in this vein of this new, exciting like endeavor for all digital. So we'll still have our website, and we're redesigning it. We're really building it up. Our brand still thrives and lives on. So the whole point is like Rangefinder is now a brand that can like succeed the print vehicle because we're still covering the same stuff. We're still doing the 30 Rising Stars. I just thought it's important to say that.
You know, I'm glad you said it because I just
Yeah.
saw a magazine like just yesterday. I was waiting in the lobby and someone had one in their hand. So
That's our last issue.
that's the last issue.
Print issue, I should
Well, of
say.
course, print issue. Yeah, and I'm not surprised because everything's moving to digital, and then I guess just taking it from a magazine to a website, it's more of like would be more like of a blog type site, right?
Well, no, see, the other thing people don't know is that Rangefinder has had a website for a very long time, rangefinderonline.com. So that is already there.
Yeah.
And, you know, we post daily to it, Libby and I. Libby's the senior editor.
Of course.
So that's already there, which works out well, that we don't have to build it from scratch.
Yes.
Right.
But we will redesign it. And so right now it's a work in progress. But the issue that's out now, which is ironically the longevity issue,
Yeah.
we didn't know when we were putting it together that the whole thing would be ending soon.
Yeah.
That is the show guide and the last print issue.
We're going to have to go get one of those.
Have you seen the movie The Secret Life of Walter Mitty? You must
Yes.
have. Isn't that a beautiful movie?
Yes.
Everything
Well,
you're
I
saying
love
reminds
movies
me.
like that.
Yeah. That's an astounding movie. It got Beth and I thinking like, damn, we should travel more.
Me too.
But it also made me fall in love with photos more and in the process. I don't mean to go off on a tangent at all.
I was
but,
wondering what, like.
well, she's talking about a movie, or a magazine collapsing like Life, and it's the same story basically.
I see.
And so they're moving on to digital, but yeah. And
in the movie they were too?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. Yeah, of course they were changing things. So the last issue had photos. They were celebrating things, and my other favorite movie in the past 10 years is Coco, the Disney movie, because it focuses on photography.
I didn't even see that.
Oh my God, Jack, I can't believe it. I mean,
I'm a huge movie buff.
the whole movie is like
movies.
celebrating our relatives with photos, and if you don't put their photo up, people will forget them and they don't get celebrated. Like you know, so anyway, it's just a great movie. But so I guess you must be kind of sad about this. I mean,
I'm sad, but I'm also like realistic, and this is what's been happening in the industry for a while. But you know, we were smart way back when because we built up the brand where, you know, and when I say we, like the company,
sure.
There is no real standalone magazine anymore. There's like a magazine, a website, we have a show. It's all one brand. So that's what we're like.
I think it's really smart.
Continuing
like,
on as in a different format.
Everything that you guys send online, I open it up, I read it, I read every article. So if the magazine wasn't there, I would still continue to read everything that you would ever send me. I would read every single one of them.
That's
Yeah,
good
yeah.
to
So
know.
for photographers who don't have this, or at least don't subscribe to this, obviously you need to go to rangefinderonline.com. Is that
Yes.
And so here's, I mean, the breadth of everything you guys go after. I mean, there's gear review, there's new products, inspirational stories about
and
print
photos,
sales,
you know?
obviously the most beautiful photos, and it's really opened us up to. It's hilarious. One year, so like just maybe a small story from us is like we were very honored. I think the folks over at Fundy nominated us for 30 Rising Stars a couple years ago when we first started, and it was an incredible honor. We did not win, and then when you open the magazine, you see why. These folks are incredible.
Well, you know, like what I was always appreciative that you did, Jacqueline, is like you wrote us a personal email.
That's right.
Congratulating us and telling us what you loved about our photos, but then also gave us some
and walking me off the cliff.
And then also provided some valuable feedback of like things that we can improve on. And I love that. I love it when people tell me what I can work on to improve my craft. And the words that you said to us, like, so we worked on it. That's exactly what we did the next year. And I know you do that for everybody, which is very time consuming.
It is.
But
I mean, I'm so glad you brought it up because the first year I did it, because now this is 8 years strong, the Rising Stars competition. The first year took me like 4 months to finish. And I was getting angry emails back, like, what is happening? Where's my feedback email? And then this past year, I made a vow to do it in like less than a month, and I did it in 2 months. But everyone is super grateful for it, and like, not that I'm like all that, but I think like I have a really good eye, and I have a really good way of like talking to people and seeing things that maybe they're not seeing. So it's all constructive, feedback. It's not criticism. I'm like trying to help them grow and like understand, because you guys know, like, people who are nominated, some people are nominated twice or 3 times before they even make it. And we get a lot of things like, oh, this year everybody looks the same, dark and moody, or that year everybody's like weddings of mason jars in the wilderness. But that reflects what's happening in the industry. It's not that we want everything to look the same, and we're doing it from all over the world. So we grow too every year. So I think this 2019 was one of our strongest. I mean, everybody's incredible. But this year, I think we had a broader range of different types of photography from all over the world. This year, there were only 5 people who were from the United States.
Wow.
And the rest, like Kenya, Croatia, Lithuania, like everywhere, which I think that's important to like include as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, my feedback emails have become very popular.
Yeah. Right.
But I love doing them because I think it's important. And I always make the point not to say, hey, sorry you didn't make it, like try back. I pick different images and I say, these are my favorites and this is why, because I see your signature voice in these the most, which is what we look for the most. Or here's a few that I don't think work in your portfolio. You need to be a better editor. Like, they're very specific. It's not just pat in the back, come back next year. I really strive to be very specific and helpful, and will listen to anybody. Like, if they email me back 5 more times, I always try to, be there for them. It might take longer than I anticipated, but I'm always like happy to help. And I sit down, do portfolio reviews whenever. I did one yesterday in the hallway with a guy I had just met.
Wow.
So I love doing that.
So like in the industry, that it just shows what kind of awesome person you are, because there's not a lot of people that will take the time to like talk to somebody on like a one-on-one level like that. I love going to those the panel discussions,
right.
The 30 Rising Stars panel discussions, because it really like we're all peers together, and the way that we can just ask questions and get valuable answers. Everything is like, it's like you're talking to a friend and getting information from a friend. I love the panel discussions.
Yeah, and I try to I'm an old lady now, but I try to be like a peer to them, because what people don't know about me, I think, also is I don't think they know that I was a photographer. So if they think like, who the hell are you? You don't shoot weddings.
I didn't either, yeah.
But I was never a professional photographer, but I have a really strong photo background, and I was more like doing photo J type of things on the newspaper. But I also wrote 2 books on wedding photography. In 2000, I wrote a book on wedding photography through Random House in 2009, and then a book on portraiture with Elizabeth Messina in 2011 or 12, And they made a Chinese edition out of that too.
Wow.
So like to see my name in Chinese letters is kind of cool. Even though it might not be my name. I don't read Chinese.
Yeah, right.
But so like my point is like not to like brag about myself because I'm so not a bragger. It's that I want people to know I do have a background. I do know what I'm talking about. Like it's super important to me, and I know what works, and so I just want people to know like I have the background for it. But not everybody might know that.
What are some of the like in the new digital Rangefinder magazines that are going to be coming out? Like, what are some of the like unique things that you're looking forward to?
So the first thing is it's not going to be a digital magazine.
Oh, okay.
Which, again, like I think there might, you know, like they said, all digital format in the press release, but it's actually it's just a website, and we're like really aligned with WPPI now. So like Arlene Evans, who's the content director of WPPI, is now my boss, and we're going to work closely together. Like that I might help like give her more input on speakers for the show, and we want more speakers to write for Rangefinder. But yeah, it's going to just be website only.
Oh, okay, great.
But it's still going to be like a feed. I mean, I would think.
Well, we'll post daily.
Yeah, you can almost
sure.
get more out than a static magazine.
Exactly,
probably.
yeah.
You can get more articles and
Be
photos
more
out.
interactive.
So you talked about speakers. I know you could probably address this. You know, being in sort of a power position in the photography universe, and a woman, like I've seen so much chatter out there. You know where I'm going? Maybe with some company will announce their top photographers, or some big convention will announce all their speakers.
It's all white males who are 50.
Yeah, it's all white males,
40.
and it's a weird time. I don't even know what to make of it. Like, what have you been seeing? Obviously it's a problem. It just looks weird because there's so many talented gals out there who are just slaying it, yet it's not maybe reflecting as much in. And so what I've been seeing too is like there's been like all gal like female conferences popping up.
Right.
There was a conference
Like real life.
Yeah, yeah. There's a conference that just popped up in Cleveland, and our dear friend Chad de Blasio is one of the speakers, but all other 11 people are women, which was like, oh, this is really cool to see. Maybe Beth would want to go. But what are you seeing in the industry, and what would you like to see change?
So it's such a great question. I've seen a ton of changes, and I think because I'm closer to it, like having to report on it, that I feel like it's actually really started changing maybe like a year and a half to 2 years ago. And it's not just like female, male, but it's also diversity and like people of color and different cultures and races and gender. You know, we like Rangefinder as a magazine started doing more like covering more photographers of color and different backgrounds like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and getting more of those people involved in Rising Stars because they're out there and they don't have the opportunities that other photographers might have. Mm-hmm. Or I've been told like, you know, this woman, Tamaya Colvin, I don't know if you know her, she speaks here.
I don't know.
I mean, and she's a photographer who started her own magazine for photographers of color because she said there were no other magazines that they could submit to who would take their work. And, you know, so it's moved way beyond like just the men and the women. It's really like deeper than that. And so like at WPPI, there's a diversity panel this year. Like Rangefinder had a diversity issue a year ago. And again, just like featuring more backgrounds and from subject and photographer. In our Rising Stars, we have this woman, Petronella Lugemwa, who won last year. She's here this year. She served as a mentor. She photographs multicultural weddings. She came, I think her background is that she's from Uganda, I think. And you know, she's really helped open up the market as well because there's so many other subjects out there than beautiful, you know, like white brides who are wearing designer dresses. Like that was also a thing that people just saw endlessly for so long. Like model-looking brides who have like $50,000 dresses. That's not reality,
right?
Mm-hmm. And so, like we who serve the who are serving the industry, Rangefinder serving the industry, have to reflect on the changes. So I've seen the changes earlier on than you might feel that they're happening. You know, look at like companies like Canon and Nikon and with their ambassadorships, like they're introducing more women and also more a few more women of like a diversified background. They could have way more, but I think they've become more cognizant of that in the last year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've been at this for 10 years, and when I think of photography, I just think of all the amazing women out there, the people we've been inspired by, Sue Bryce, Susan Stripling.
Right.
I mean, like, it's kind of hard for me to actually think of. I mean, one of our, Jerry Giannis has been very important in our life for a long time, and but now his wife has played such a pivotal role in his career. And for the past, gosh.
When I think of him, I think of her.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I'd like to. It is. I see the chatter online, and it does look kind of funny at times when there's so many females who are just killing it, and then there's just like they have 12 speakers and there's like one gal. It's anyway. I'm glad things are getting better.
Question. Yeah, I think they are.
And Beth is.
But they have a long way to go, but it's like a good start.
Yeah. Beth obviously has an interest in this too, and she's been trying to support as much as she can. The women in the industry. So.
Just like you said, like yesterday when we got together with some friends, like I love sitting around with women and talking about everything that we're doing. Like, I don't know, like the women have a work ethic. Not saying that guys don't, but I'm just saying that when I said I love the work ethic and drive of women. And
well, so, see, to me,
we're so used to wearing so many different hats, that we just become empowered by being around each other.
Well, you're moving forward with Rangefinder as a website and not a magazine. That's great to hear. And then, so what is WPPI to you? Like, I'm sure this is kind of like your Christmas, right? I know it's overwhelming.
I love it, but like last year I got violently ill on the first day and ended up in urgent care with an IV in my arm, because I could not stop throwing up. I think it was food poisoning or a virus, but every year there's something that happens to me. So far, like, I'm good this year. Hopefully it's only Tuesday, but like WPPI, and a lot of people leave here and say, we all joke about it. Now we have the WPPI plague. We all have the flu and we go home. We're all sick. But in this adrenaline like rush of a week where it's like a mom. You just keep pushing yourself. Like if you get sick, you can't stop caring for your kid. And it's the same thing where, all week you have to show up here and do 1,000 trillion things and just do it. But it's also like, it's community, it's networking. Like WPPI is a family. One thing here this year, the registration is 40% new people. And so that's like huge for us because every year there are I see the same people and it's a family, but now the family is growing, which is amazing.
How many people are attending this year? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I know it's high, but I don't want to misquote myself or say a wrong number.
Is it 10 or 20,000 or?
It could be 10.
10, yeah.
And it's hard to tell because everything's spread out, but it's very vibrant and alive, and I feel like there are a lot of people here, even more than last year. And
40% new attendees. That's really exciting.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. And there's all these new things happening, and Arlene's put together all these great parties and events, and this 80s party last night. Did you drop a dish?
Did you hear that?
Seth?
I did not drop a dish. I dropped a mic on this podcast. Okay.
But yeah, we're excited.
Great. Well, thanks for having us. You had us, yeah. Thanks for coming on to the podcast. I mean, obviously, we've been a huge fan of yours, and and having us in the magazine a few times has been quite a celebration in our household. And so I can't thank you enough. I don't know how we can repay you, but it's nice to hear your story. I did not know you're a photographer, but I do know that you're incredibly committed to the craft of photography, portrait and weddings, and certainly that magazine would be nowhere or the website without you. So
I know the articles, your personal hard work on the magazine has touched so many lives and has helped so many people over the years create a business for their families and for their life. I mean, and you personally have touched so many lives, people that you'll never even meet, and that's got to feel so amazing inside.
No, I appreciate you saying that. And I think Libby Peterson, who's a senior editor, we're a team of two, and she and I have really built up the magazine over the past several years. And we're a good team, and we've both done that together, I think. But thank you for saying that. But just one quick aside.
Go ahead.
If Parker Pfister is listening to this, you know
I wish
him?
he would. Yeah.
He would call you up and say, "Oh, Jackie's not a photographer at all," because I took a workshop in Scotland with him in last April and was fumbling around on my new Sony camera. So Parker, if you're listening, I really do have the background, but you scared me. I was intimidated by you, but
well, these new mirrorless
I
cameras
do
are
have
confusing.
the skills, but they're old skills.
Well, thanks so much. It was nice. It's nice talking to you.
Thank you.
If you're at WPPI in the future, say hello to Jacqueline and give her props. Go to rangefinderonline.com.
Wait, do the whole website?
Rangefinderonline.com.
Okay.
Boom. Go to sethandbeth.com, which happens to be our website. How unique. And follow us on our YouTube. This will be on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. Pretty pleased with sugar on top. Thank you, guys. Love
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks so much.